The how's Trump going to pay for it question is being asked by many outside the political world. Here to answer those questions, Trump campaign national spokesperson Katrina Pierson. Hi, Katrina.
Hi, great to be here.
All right, Katrina, Byron is not from inside the Beltway. He's a numbers guy, 6 decades of financial success under his belt. If he were standing in front of you asking, how is Donald Trump going to pay for the plan, what is the answer?
Well, look, I would simply say that this was one speech that's going to be followed by a series of speeches that will be addressing that question. But even if you look at these particular policies that Mr. Trump has spoken about in the past, he has talked about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, which I know isn't a ton of money, but we do have to start somewhere. But then we also look at some of the money that's renegotiated with some of the trade deals, and when you look at the number of jobs we're talking about increasing revenue, that turns into a big number, Liz, and we have to keep in mind, you know, in elections past, we've had all these promises to do certain things with the economy, whether it's taxation or regulation, and things have just progressively gotten worse. And now we have a candidate that actually has a vision and who's going to be strong enough to fight for it. I think that's really important, particularly as we've seen with President Obama and Hillary Clinton, where the economy is today. And I think Americans are going to have to ask themselves, do they want a third term of terrible growth, taxation, no jobs, and moving forward, what else are they going to do with regulation?
Well, let's just be clear. There has been job creation month after month, quarter after quarter, but many are calling Donald Trump's plan very gutsy, very bold. But as a business network, it is our job to press for granularity or detail. You know, Trump said drop lots of onerous regulation that's choking business. I personally could not agree more. Regulation is so overwhelming. It's like a weight on the chest of anybody who wants to even start a business. But beyond saying that he would cut regulations that were non-safety related, how is he qualifying the benefits versus the cost?
Well, if you look at, let's start with the regulations too, because we're talking about regulations that we're facing today, from, you know, walking into your local grocery store to the food that your children are allowed to eat at school. Not to mention Obamacare, which was something that was left out that we do know causes a ton of burden on businesses. And when we look at the cost, I mean, we are spending so much money right now, and you could actually start with Tom Coburn's last waste book that he published before he was leaving office. I think that's a really good point. We are spending
I want to get to Obamacare in 1 second, but we do have breaking news.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has just now agreed to 3 presidential debates with Hillary Clinton. 3 debates. And Katrina, that was a question as to whether he would, because he was balking about 2 of them, saying that they were conveniently scheduled at the same time as NFL games. But the NFL's schedule came out well after the presidential debate. What do you think about this change of heart?
Well, the reason why Mr. Trump spoke about that is because when you look at the NFL commission, you do have Hillary Clinton individuals on there. And, you know, this was scheduled on days that are questionable when it comes to NFL games. But the reason why Mr. Trump has accepted to move forward with this schedule is because he's very serious about going up against Hillary Clinton and talking about the differences between what a Trump administration and new vision would look like versus the campaign of the old times of politicians saying all talk and no action.
So let's get to what it would like. You had mentioned Obamacare. With a Republican-led Congress, he probably could get that repealed. Who knows? But that is a possibility. If so, though, Katrina, you would still have a lot of people wake up the next day uninsured. They would find themselves uninsured again, whether they are kids up to 26 years old who are on their parents' insurance or people who had pre-existing health problems. What is Donald Trump's answer to something like that?
Well, again, this is something that he's been talking about on the trail. This was handled very inappropriately by the government to begin with. If we want people to purchase insurance, we should, A, make it affordable, and B, make it accessible, which means you have to lift those restrictions of purchasing insurances across state line. Look, I spent 14 years in healthcare. I know exactly the burden that it's put on people. One person in Texas could purchase the exact same plan from Blue Cross Blue Shield in Florida, and it could be up to $5,000 a difference. this is the debate that we need to be having, is what to do moving forward. And in order to do what's always been done is to stick to what works, and that is if you're going to be in the marketplace, it's got to be competitive. I'm
going to get killed because they're giving me a wrap, but I have to ask you about the corporate tax cut, and that would be the biggest. Of course, that immediately, instantly makes the U.S. much more attractive for domiciled companies, meaning they would move their headquarters here versus the other way around. And yet Donald Trump has said he would punish companies that left to go start their headquarters somewhere else. That, Katrina, is straight out of President Obama's book. President Obama has said the exact same thing, saying, you know what, we're going to make it too hard for companies to move their headquarters out of this country. So how is Trump any different from President Obama on that level? Or does he simply agree with them and say, well, that's one thing I agree with the president on?
Well, there's a huge difference, Liz, and that is the fact that Donald Trump does not want to punish success, and that's what we have right now, and that's what Hillary Clinton wants to continue doing. That was really a message to the workers and to the employees, so that they know that they will have an advocate for them in the White House. Mr. Trump has a tax plan that is favorable to businesses staying here.
You have to admit, it kind of is.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's out of the Democratic playbook. It is Mr. Trump speaking to the workers by saying, I understand, I hear you, and I'm going to work to make sure that we keep as many jobs as possible here. But it won't even be an issue, Liz, because the tax environment is going to be favorable to success.
We shall see, and I know a lot of corporations love that part of it. Katrina, thank you very much for joining me.